Hello, everybody out there in the diving community. My name is Rich. I just wanted to share with you a couple tools that I'm currently working on. Well, first of all, I have been an open water diver since 2018. And I haven't been diving. I have about 29 dives. My last dive was in 2022. So it's been a 4-year surface interval. And by all means, I'm definitely not an expert at diving. I have a couple dives underneath my belt. But this is just currently what I am working on in my current workflow. And so if there's a better way to do this, I would love to know. Please leave a comment or share your experiences and just share with us. But this is currently how I am working. I'm using a logging software called Diving Log 6.0. I'm sure many of you know about this software. It's very well known in the diving community. For those of you who don't know about it, it's awesome. I love it. They're a German company, software engineering company, so just keep that in mind. A lot of the stuff is going to be in bar and meters and all that kind of stuff. You can change it though, so I'm going to go over that here. So I'm just going to go over a couple of the features with you. If you know about this stuff, great. You can skip ahead. If not, then this is for you. I'm also going to go over Microsoft Access and logging additional information. So I think that's going to be helpful to a lot of people who may not necessarily know about how to integrate DivingLog 6.0 with other Access databases, because I just found this out recently. So I'm still working on this. I'm still working on Access, and so this is what I know so far about it and how to integrate the two softwares. Which is going to be great for if you're logging other kind of information, such as if you're working on wrecks, if you're working on archaeological sites, if you're doing surveys, stuff like that. If you are an instructor, maybe you want to keep a database, an Access database for your students and all that kind of stuff, separate than your diving log, but also integrate your diving log in it. It's great for researchers, scientists and all that kind of stuff. Or there's plenty of applications, marine biology, if you're doing site surveys again, like I said. There's tons of ways to use this kind of workflow. So with that being said, here it is. This is Diving Log 6.0. This is the screen that opens up for me. It's going to be different for everybody else, and you have preferences and all that kind of stuff in terms of your appearance and everything like that. So this is how it opens up for me. You'll notice here, Diving Log 6.0.36, my name, some arbitrary number. I don't know what that means. But here you see logbook.mdb. That is the file type. So that's my file, my source file. And then here, obviously, it's going to be where the file is located on my hard drive. Or wherever you're storing your dive log. So that's going to be that. You can open logbook, view, insert dive, the website, support center, and then here I'm going to go change units just for everybody who's in America who wants to change the units or whatnot. So you open it up like this, and you could just go from metric to imperial. I have feet per second, but you can pretty much do whatever you want. And then you have your appearances and all that kind of stuff. So you can change your image, like your background image up here, all that kind of stuff, your dive list, sidebar, logbook, all that kind of stuff. So really the only thing that I use over here is the units and language and appearance. I don't really touch a lot of the other stuff. Okay. So you open up your logbook. I have my logbook open up, but I guess it closed. So here on the left-hand side, you're going to see all your dives. And then here is going to be where you're going to log your information. You can also import your dives, which is great. So you can do that over here. You go up to File, and then Import, and then it supports a lot of different software, all your basic, your Cressy, you got your Garmin, Hollis, all that kind of stuff, Oceanic, Paralens, Reflog, you got Hollis, I think I said that before, but it supports a lot of software that you can just automatically upload. And so you just basically click on it, and then it'll walk you through the process of uploading your dives directly from your dive computer, which is a great feature. And so once that happens, it's going to import your dives, obviously. So you might want to go through and just to verify all the information is correct, and then add a couple of the informations that don't automatically upload. So for example, your weights, you probably don't have your weights in your dive computer, so that's a good option for you to go in there and manually enter your pounds and all that kind of stuff. This is a template. There are other templates available for you. If you don't like this one, if you want to use a different template, they're available. A lot of them are online on the Diving Log 6.0 website, and you can apply the template here. And then, or you can, customize it your own, whatever else you want, and save your template. You can do that. But this is currently my template that I'm working on. So you have your logbook on this side, or your logbook here, and here's a bunch of tabs. So for the dive, here is the comments. I just wrote I dove with Matt, etc. and so forth. Next, we have media. So if you have any photographs, there's a media manager, so you can upload your photographs, or you can actually designate a file on your computer that'll automatically upload your photographs. So if you upload your photographs into that specific file, it'll automatically upload into the media software for this application. I don't have any pictures right now, so I don't have anything available, but it's great to have. Additional information. Here's where you have your surface interval. If it was a repetitive dive, you have your dive center, your trip, and all of this information can be edited. I'll go over that in a little bit. But up here in the details, you have all this. You have your countries, cities, islands, dive sites, buddies, shops, dive centers, vacations, trips, marine life, and you can all edit this stuff up here. And I'll go over that in a little bit, but just going over the basic log with you right here. So all your information is here, your boat name, pressure group start and end, your rating, waves, current, and all that stuff. Then you come down here and you can designate your dive type. And you can also add dive types. Like I added a whole bunch of stuff in here. So search and recovery, free dive, rescue, stuff like that. So you can go over here and you can add a new dive type if you want to. And right now I have about 100 dive types. So, the sky's the limit on that. Same thing with marine life. Marine life is great. There is, I think it uses, well, I'll go over that in a second. Just let me finish this first. But so you have your marine life over here, your dive equipment that you can upload your information. So here's your equipment, actually, this section over here, and you can log your equipment, which is great. It's a great feature to have. And so each dive, you can go ahead and you can select which dive equipment you used. Tank and gas, you can, again, your tank is part of your equipment. So, you can just go ahead and enter that sort of information. User-defined fields is you can go in there and actually type in any kind of fields that you want to track. So for here, for example, I have a project and they're personal. If I have another project, like if I'm going to be doing a survey, I can enter the survey title here. If I have an investigator, I can type in their name. Supervisors, etc., institute, auspices. I have Patty. You can use NAUI, whatever, and all that kind of stuff. But you can go in there and you can edit all of these user-defined fields and then track them that way. Signature, I just basically just scribbled my name in there. You can also select a dive stamp if you wanted to upload a dive stamp. You have that in there, and then you have obviously maps over here. So this is the map of the dive site, and it's not really too detailed. It just tells you where it is, but that's neither here nor there. So you have that. Then you have your dive profile over here, which is basically self-explanatory. And if you upload your dives directly from your dive computer, this is all done manually, so you don't have to go in there and do anything with the temperature or the air consumption or anything like that. It's all done automatically. A lot of these, you'll see over here that if it's got this picture right here, I don't know if you can see that, but if it's got that picture right there, that means it contains a dive profile. These do not contain dive profiles because I manually entered these dive log, these dive entries. So they do not have a dive profile, but these do. Um, so that's that. Profile data. I mean, I don't really go into that too much, but if you wanted to check your dive profile data, it would be here. So that's that. And then obviously you can go and you can do it manually if you wanted to enter a new dive up here. It would just bring up a new record, and then you would just enter it manually, and then save it. So that is that. So that's the logbook itself. Now up here, again with the details. Let's not click. There we go. So I'm going to go in, for example, I don't know, and do dive sites. So here's all your dive sites, and you can go in there and you can add new ones, latitude, longitude rating, all that kind of stuff. You could do an aquatic name, the water type, altitude, difficulty, stuff like that. Comments about the actual dive site. If you had any pictures about the dive site, maps, and then it'll show you which dives are associated with that specific dive site, which is a great feature. So that's that. And then you can import your dive sites if you had like a Google Earth file. So I like to use Google Earth, and I have a KML file of all the dive sites. That's how I pulled this up. So basically, you just import your Google Earth file, and then it'll just populate a whole list of dive sites, and then you can kind of go in there and fill in all the information that's not filled in already. So that's that. And then you can obviously go to save it or whatnot. So those are your dive sites. Your buddies, I mean, it's self-explanatory. You can go in there and you can add your buddies' telephone number, date of birth, website, contact information. If he sucks at fishing, you could put that in there if you wanted to. The dives, which dives that you went on with them. So that's that. That's with the dive buddies, and you can import them as well from a V card. So if you had like, I don't know, an Outlook file for them, for example, you can upload that. But yeah, that's dive buddies. What else? Shops, dive centers. I just populated a whole bunch of dive centers in there. So you can kind of go in there and enter as you see fit. So if you want to add new, it's just unnamed dive site, and you just go in there and populate the information. Same thing, contact information, comments, dives, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that record. Delete current record, yes. And so that's that. What else? So we have marine life. And what's good about this is that you can import this from the Encyclopedia of Life, which is a great resource. So if you go on the Encyclopedia of Life, look up some information about the specific marine lives that you're diving on. Like the Dungeness crab, for example, it'll give you a whole bunch of the classifications, like the scientific name, kingdom, all that kind of stuff. Comments. You can edit this. Obviously, it's not going to edit in the Encyclopedia of Life, but it'll edit in your database. So, and then the dives. So once you select that specific marine life, it'll populate here, and so you can add new ones if you wanted to. Yeah, and it's pretty self-explanatory with that. Let's see what else. Trips and vacations. So if you had a specific trip that you wanted to go, that you're going on, your dive buddies, which buddies that are going on the trip with you, comments about the trip, photos about the trip, and then the dive numbers. So this, I'm going to use this for instead of specific projects in my database, I'm going to associate trips with projects. So that's kind of gonna be the way I'm moving forward with it. Also, obviously, I'm going to add trips and vacations and stuff like that, but I'm going to also use them as a place to store my projects. So that's that. Then Over here is obviously all of your information. So if you go into the user section, you have your general contact information, certifications, and you can upload your pictures over here, certification numbers, instructor, all that kind of stuff. Your dive medical with the contact information. I probably shouldn't know that, but medical statement, you can upload your medical statement here. You know, if you want to just have it available online or on your in your database or whatnot, and then comments if you want to comment like, "Hey, I'm allergic to shellfish, so if you see me swimming near shellfish, then you better pull me up," or something like that. So that's that. You can put your stamp here and all that kind of stuff, and then so that's your user. Equipment is obviously the stuff that you can put your regulator, your BCD, your dive computer, your tank, and stuff like that. So what's good about this is you can it'll give you a spot for your service date. The last service date and the next service date. So it'll send you a reminder. When you log in again, say you log into this often. If you don't log into it ever, then it's not going to remind you. But if you log into it like a month before your next service date, it's going to send you a reminder. I don't know how long the reminder is for. Maybe a week and maybe a month. I just don't remember, but it will send you a reminder when you log in that you have a service coming up. And so you can put your date of purchase, next O2 service, etc. If you sold it, you can just click sold. And that's that. Same thing with I only have two things here that I really logged. But you can have however many you want. So I think, yeah, there's a spot for weight, spot for price, where you bought it, serial number and a warranty. Just comments on it. Like I just put in a whole bunch of information about, valve type, all that kind of stuff. Any pictures of it. This is just a generic picture that I found on the internet, and the dives that you went on with it. So that's that with your equipment. Let's see, anything else? So maps. See your statistics. So if you just want to have a brief thing of your statistics, general up here, chart years, like this is, shows however many dives I did per year. In 2020, 2021, I didn't dive at all. 23, 24, 25, 26, didn't dive at all. So kind of sad to say, but, I'm hopefully going to get back out there soon. So months. So it seems I did a lot of diving in June and November. Chart depth. So most of my dives were between 0 and 30 feet. Some of them were between 31 and 60 feet. But it goes all the way. This is a very technical software, so technical friendly software. So if you do a lot of technical diving, the software is great for you because it measures. It can measure your helium, all that kind of stuff, your heliox, your trimix, all that kind of stuff, your nitrox, and all that. So dive time, and it's basically self-explanatory. Pretty much whatever, any kind of chart that you want to, your visibility type, it gives you here, or your dive type rather. So those are your statistics. And so right now, what I want to do is so that's diving log 6.0 in a nutshell, basically. And so what I want to do now is I want to go over how to establish another database, integrating this database with another database. So say, for example, you want a database of, you're researching something and you have a project or something, and you have a database about that project. You want a database on your surveys and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go over that now. And I think this is going to be helpful. So just bear with me. Okay, so it's saved. So logbook.mdb, and I think I mentioned it before, but MDB stands for Microsoft Database, which basically means that it's an access database. So that being said, let's open up database, and this is obviously saved. So I automatically save this. Let's see, we're going to save it. Okay. So I'm going to open up Access right now, and I already have a database that I'm working on, but I'm gonna start with a blank database just to show you how to do this. So we're gonna go blank database, and we're gonna name this database, um, I don't know, whatever site that you have, or if you're doing um, like search and rescue, search and recovery, all that kind of stuff, you can just do search, 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 search. Okay, so you can name it whatever you want to name it, create it. So here it brings up a table. So this is going to be your first table that you're going to use. And so the way Access works is it's a logging software. It's a database software. It's basically like Excel on steroids, is what it basically is. And there's a couple features here. You have your tables, you have queries, you have forms, and then you have reports, and then you have macros. So we're going to be working with tables today. I'm just going to show you the basics, so how to open up tables and how to assign tables to specific things. So we're just going to be working with tables. We're not going to do anything with queries or forms or reports. But these are additional features that you can utilize. So if you had to make a report to somebody, say you're reporting to your principal investigator or something, you can report, and you can schedule reports like to run every week or every month or every whatever, every quarter. So you can schedule reports to automatically populate if you wanted to. But that's something totally different. So that's basically Access in a nutshell. And so what I want to do here is I want to associate. So we already have an Access database with the logbook, because remember, it's an MDB file, right? So that's an Access database. So we have that database already, and we want to integrate that database with an additional database. So like a database within a database, because we have other information that we want to keep track of, but we also want to associate those dives that we want on with another thing. So here we have external data. So what we want to do is go to external data, new data source. And then what we want to do is, so I tried this the hard way, and I did the XML file, because you can also export your database via XML, but that is the hard way. Don't do that. So what you want to do, since it's a .mdb file, is you want to import from a database, and you want to import from an Access database, because it is an Access database. So, and then here we have where you want to import it from, and then here, where is it located? Shoot, today I forgot where it. Okay, bear with me because I forgot where it is. Diving log, there it is. So I have the logbook here. This is where my logbook is located in my hard drive. Okay, so this is the database that I want to associate with this database. So what we're going to do is open this. And then you want to link the data source by creating a linked table. So you want to click this option right here, click OK. And then so it's going to bring in all of these tables, which is basically the tables that are in your diving log 6.0. So you want to select all and then hit OK. And this is going to bring in all of that information. This isn't part of it, table one isn't. So these, from bookmarks all the way down to user defined, is part of your diving log 6.0 database. But now it's opened up in Microsoft Access, if that makes sense. So here, for example, we'll just open up logbook, and then it'll bring in all of your dives. So all of your dives are located here in this file. And then you can see it goes on, and a lot of the stuff is binary. So it'll, like, your place ID is going to be defined as 2, which if you go over to place ID over here, where is place? If you go over to place, you're going to have your ID. So number 2 is going to be Seacrest Park. So that is going to be Seacrest Park. And so so Access is a relational database, so you can define relationships within database, which makes it different than Microsoft Excel. You can't really do that in Microsoft Excel. So you would have to do that in Microsoft Access to be a relation. So, but anyway, what's important to know about this is if you're going to do it like this, don't change any of these um, tables, the table titles. So, for example, you don't want to change this logbook to like logbook.1 or logbook, diving logbook or anything like that. What these names are is how your diving log 6.0 database recognizes them. So if you change them in here, it's going to throw everything off in your diving log 6.0. So you don't want to do that. What you want to do is just, you can go in and like change the, like this stuff, like kind of not any of the stuff that's going to actually change the database. Um, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but you don't want to go in there and change the names of any of this sort of stuff or any of these, like country. If you put like, I don't know, country ID, if you put a space in there between country and ID, it's going to mess everything up. So you don't want to do that. But you can go in there and change certain things. One thing that you should notice is that the depth over here. So notice, you remember how we did it in feet. We switched over to feet instead of meters. Microsoft Access, for some reason, and I don't know how to go and change this. Again, I'm just starting off with this, but this is obviously meters. So a lot of the stuff is going to be in meters. It's going to be in bar. So your pressure is going to be in bar. Yeah, so like here, tank size is, pressure, all this stuff is in bar. So I don't know how to change that. So just keep that in mind. Your dive types and stuff like that, like all these numbers are going to be associated again, like I said, with your, where it's a dive type. So your ID, your dive ID or whatnot. I think it's associated with the sort ID. I haven't figured that part out yet either, because a lot of these are going to be different because I don't know, they're just different. It's just a totally different thing. But you can go ahead in there and change. Every time you change something like that and you close it out, it's going to ask if you want to save it. You can just go ahead and click yes. I didn't do anything structurally to the log or to the table. I just changed the size of the column. So, which is fine. So you can do that without changing anything that has to do with the bones of the database, if that makes sense. So do you want to save changes to the layout? So I'm just changing the layout. I'm not changing the actual database. Click yes. So that's fine. Again, here, that's fine. You can tidy it up if you wanted to. What's nice about this is that if you wanted to, you can go in here and manually enter another dive. So, for example, if you wanted to add, I don't know, so this dive number, oh, that's another thing that I wanted to mention too, is that these are not, so your dive ID and your dive number are totally different, because for some reason it doesn't recognize that this is a 0 1 instead of a 1. It just recognizes it as a 1. So you're going to have, it's going to start from 1 6, 1 7, 1 8, and then 1, and then 2 3 4 5, etc. And then 10 is down here, 11 12. So that's going to be a little bit different. Your dive ID and your dive number are going to be different. I wouldn't recommend changing anything like that yet. But what you can do is, so if you add another dive, so say you dove today, 721, so you just put 721, 2026, enter. Time, I don't know, 11. Okay. And then it's going to automatically save. So when you go back in here and check this out, this is pretty cool, I think. When you go back in here, X that out and then reopen it because it's got to repopulate. Give me a second. Why did it do it? Okay. Yeah, let's see if it did now. There it is. So it gave you a dive. So you can go into Access and add a dive to your Diving Log 6.0 uh, database. So that being said, so we have it in here in our Access database. We have dive number 32, well, dive ID number 32, dive log number 30, blah, 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 is right there, right here. And uh, so we can go ahead in here if we wanted to. I mean, you could do this a couple different ways, but so you want to go in here and you don't want this dive anymore, so you want to go ahead and delete the dive. You want to delete dive number 30, yes, and then save it. I think I saved it. And then it got deleted. So go in here, X that out, and we're back to 29. So that's kind of a cool feature. So you can, if you wanted to, hypothetically come into Microsoft Access and create a dive based off of your previous dives or whatever. You can go through here. You don't even have to have this open. In fact, once you set up your system, it's only recommending to have one system open at a time. So if you're working with Access, then don't work in Divelog 6.0. And subsequently, if you're working in Divelog 6.0, don't open up your Access account or your Access file. So that's that. And so what I want to do here now is I want to organize this because remember, I don't want to touch any of this information. I don't want to touch bookmarks. I don't want anybody to change it. That's another thing about Access is that people can come into your Access database if you want them, if you give them permission to come into your Access database and put in some other additional information, but you don't want them touching this stuff. So what I like to do is here's an option for you, navigation options. And so I want all of these in a specific group. So I go into custom and I want to add a group and I want to call this operations log. Oh, well, we'll call it a dive log. And we want to call this tables because we don't want to confuse it with any other like forms or anything like that. So we want to add dive log tables. And then I also want to add something like administrative, so admin. So we can add other tables to this as well. So we added dive log tables and admin. So okay, yeah, bear with me. I don't know why it's not. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're gonna go in here. Sorry about that. So we go in here, and it's gonna filter out by group. So I want to filter out by custom. So I want to I have my dive log tables group here, and then I have my admin group here. And so what I want to do is I want to highlight all of these. So you can go bookmarks and then control all the way down. And then you can basically put all of these tables into that specific group. And I want to do that because I don't want anybody confusing this. So now they are in dive log tables. So all these tables are in this specific group. So that's that. And I don't want to touch anything like that. Again, if I want to come in there and manually enter a dive log, then I could totally do that. But other than that, I don't want to touch it. So what I want to do is I want to create a new table now. And this is the start of our other database, right? So I want to create a table. And I'm doing a site survey. And so automatically here, I just want to change this to a survey ID. And then I want to add something like a title, a survey title, and whatnot. And you can add however many fields that you want to add. You can have start date, end date, all that kind of stuff. This data type is not compatible with other earlier versions, so yeah, that's fine, whatever. Start date, and then if it's got an end date, etc., and you get the drift. So here you can add things like number, short text, large number, currency, yes, no. So if it's complete, so you got that. You can add an attachment if you wanted to. So say you have a map or something like that, and you can add that in there, and it's not going to let me change the thing. It's not going to let me change any of that, but let's see what else. If you had a link to an external website or something like that, or if you had an email address, you can add a hyperlink. And if I do like a personnel table, which I'm going to probably do, I have a personnel table associated with my other database. I add hyperlinks, and you can add people's email addresses to the hyperlinks. So that's just one feature. Anyway, so here we have, okay, it's starting to look like a table. So what we want to do is it's going to ask if we want to save this. So you X this out. It's going to ask if you want to save it. Yes. And then it's going to ask you what you want your table's name to be. And then you can put something like survey. And then what I like to do, and what a lot of people like to do, is they're going to identify the table as being a table, form as a form, report as a report, query as a query. So I just like to add T. So survey T tells me that it's a survey table. And so I have a survey table over here, and I want to add something in the navigation, something like, I don't know, measurements. So I want to have a group, it's measurements. And so I'm assigning this to that group. And so I have a survey table. Let's open up the survey again. And what I want to do is I want to add insert field. And then I want to associate a specific dive. So I went on a dive. So dive number 29 is associated with this survey. So I'm going to put dive ID. And then what I'm going to do, and this is going to get kind of confusing a little bit. So, but what I want to do here is I want to go to view, and then I want to go to design view. And this is going to bring up all of the internals. And you can edit stuff here if you wanted to. Field 1, you can change the name of that to picture or something. But my dive ID is, I want it to be associated with my logbook, right? My dive number 29. So here on the survey field, the dive ID, I want to come down here and I want to look up. And what I want to do is I want to look up a list box. and then it's going to ask row source type table query. Okay, so we want to look up a table query. And then here, row source, I want to associate it with my logbook, which is right there. And so this part, bound column, so we're going to save this right now, okay? So we're going to just, anytime you move this, it's going to ask if you want to save it. Yes. And that didn't change anything with the logbook table. It just changed things with the survey table. But so this dive ID is now associated with your logbook. And so you're going to open it and it's going to ask you, okay, which dive ID is going to be associated with this survey ID. And so this part's a little tricky and confusing because remember how before the dive ID wasn't necessarily the entry ID. So your dive number one is going to be dive number one, and I haven't figured this part out yet, so just bear with me. So what I want to do here now is go to the design view, and I want to change this bound column to 2. And I want to change this column count number to 2 because that will then we'll go over to data sheet again and we want to save the table. That is going to pull up 2 different columns. So here you're going to have your entry number is going to be, so this is going to be dive number 1, which is really entry number 4. So if I want to do, if it's dive number 29, that I want to associate with that specific survey, it's really going to be dive entry number 31. So I want to put dive ID number 31, survey ID number 1, because this is the first survey that we're doing. Survey title, I want to title it, I don't know, clam disease survey. Okay, whatever. So you got your title, your start date, we'll just put today, whatever, blah, blah, blah. End date, we're going to put Friday. Completed, no. Okay, so right now we have this associated with dive ID, and it's just associated with it. It doesn't, there's no relational value to it. We haven't added that in yet, which is going to be probably later. I'm going to probably do something like create. So we have to create a relational value. Which is it's pointing the dive ID to the survey ID, or the dive ID in this table to the dive ID in the logbook table. So we need to create a relational value to it, if that makes sense. So, okay, so what we want to do is we want to do modify lookups. This is just your basic. Okay, so we want to go into design view. Okay. And so okay, so we have relationships up here. And so what we want to do here is go into relationships. Okay, and so your dive ID, so we want to create new. So the left table name is going to be your survey name. The left column name is going to be your dive ID. Your right table name wait a minute. So add tables here. So we want to go over to your logbook. And so create new survey dive ID and your logbook and your number. Now, so this way, when we put in dive number 29, it's going to be dive number 29 and not ID number 29. It's kind of confusing, but, and then we create. So now we see here that this dive ID is linked to the dive number. And we can go in here and edit it if we wanted to. So that's that. And so, okay, so we created one relationship between the dive ID and the number. Do you want to save changes to the layout of relationships? Yes. Okay, so now we can go back into design sheet view. And so now this is going to be associated with dive number 29, which is dive ID number 31, which is survey ID number 1. Okay, so if that wasn't confusing, but anyway, so what I wanted to say is this is a way of building a database outside of your diving database. So if you wanted to do surveys, if you wanted to maybe link your rescues, so something that is not kind of something that Diving Log 6.0 doesn't allow you to log, but you want to log, you want to associate those specific dives with something else. So your student profiles, your I don't know, your archaeological digs. You know, if you want to go on a maritime, or if you want to survey a wreck or something like that, but there's not enough information about the wreck that you want to log in your dive book, you can log it here in Microsoft Access and associate it with your dive. And what's good about that is that you can then go in later and create queries and forms and reports. So you can come in here and you can log in your information of your survey via a form. It's going to log in all that information on this table. You can then go ahead and query, like, so you were diving with, I don't know, your friend Matt on this specific survey. You want to report all the dives that you've been on with Matt where you rescued 2 people or something like that. Or if you want to log how many dives that you've been on with Matt where I don't know, you penetrated like deep into this one specific wreck or something like that. And then you want to create a report and you want it to be monthly, you want it to be quarterly or whatnot, so you can send it off to somebody that you have to send it off to. I don't know. That's basically what Microsoft Access allows you to do. And so I just figured this out now, and I figured that a lot of people probably didn't know. They probably just use Diving Log 6.0 as just a logging software, which is great for, I love Diving Log 6.0, but there's also additional features that you can utilize with Diving Log 6.0. And this is why I love Diving Log 6.0, because it's based off of Microsoft. And so it's just great to log. Anyway, so that's that. If you have any questions, I'm sure it's been like an hour. Geez. If you have any questions, make sure to comment them below. I think I'm just going to upload this to Facebook. I might upload this to YouTube or whatnot. I don't know. But if you have any questions, or if you have any comments, concerns, or whatever, if you have a different way of logging it, I would love to know. I would love to, figure out how to, enhance this system that I have, or that I'm working on, because it's not 100% complete yet, because it is so to be completely transparent, Microsoft Access is kind of it's not easy. It's kind of cumbersome, and it's kind of, it's very involved, and it's very, like, if you're going to design, you're basically designing your own databases. And so it's very, it's very intense when it comes to that sort of thing, because there's a lot of nuances in here that you really need to be aware of, and you really need to like learn this. And it's just, I've been trying to learn this for years and years, and it's very difficult for me. There's some YouTube videos out there that I watch, but other than that, I mean, there's not a lot of information out there on this sort of thing, and it's very nuanced. It's very, very sensitive to certain things, like capital letters, all that kind of stuff, like number, like it's a different language basically. So there's other ways to do it out there, like SQL. Obviously, that's one of them. You can do an SQL library and you can export your diving log 6.0 into an SQL library. But I don't know. This is just how I like to do it, and I'm still working on it. I'm still learning. So, if you got any advice out there too, please be sure to let me know and let everybody else know. But uh, I'm sure I'll probably upload some more videos about this later on. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and take care.